I'm Steve Robbins, and Nancy Caruso is my hero.
My name is Brad Allen. Nancy Caruso is my hero.
My name is Nancy Caruso. I'm a marine biologist and the founder and executive director of Get Inspired. Get Inspired is a nonprofit organization. We're dedicated to inspiring passion and purpose through the discovery of arts and sciences. Get Inspired has a program called the Orange County Ocean Restoration Project. That project was started in 2002 in an effort to restore the kelp forests of Orange County. The kelp forest disappeared about 30 years ago, and not many people noticed it because they're invisible, they're underwater. So you could drive down to the beach and it would look just like it did 30 years ago, except there wasn't any kelp underwater. Not many people get the chance to go under there and see what it looks like, but it really does look like a forest when it's nice and healthy. Kelp is also actually in thousands of products that we as consumers use on a daily basis. So things you probably would never have thought of, like stuffed olives or Band-Aids or Mrs. Fields apple pies, Mrs. Fields cookies, McDonald's apple pies, blueberry waffles, diet salad dressing, cream puffs. Alginate actually is the compound that's extracted from the kelp. Alginate is used to thicken and make things creamy and smooth. So we got all these people together who cared and they were empowered to restore it, grow it again. In their classrooms, the kids were growing little tiny microscopic spores of algae, and they got excited that it was being planted in the ocean. The volunteers were out there monitoring it, making sure it was growing and planting it just in the right spots. And over a period of about 10 years, we were able to bring the kelp forest back. And that's important because over 800 different species rely on them. So lobsters and abalone and sheephead and kelp bass and halibut and snails and all of the things that we think of when we think of life off of our coast, they all rely on those kelp forests. They're considered the rainforests of the sea. So we were able to restore those with the help of all those people, and all of them took ownership in the kelp to the point where they'd come and ask, how's our kelp doing? And I got to say, it's doing great.
Living on the coast and being out in the ocean all the time, I look back on the years where we would be in the ocean, we'd see abalone, we'd see kelp, we'd see life. And this process of bringing the kelp back is bringing the life back into the ocean, the vibrancy, the natural beauty, and so many different species are flourishing that we haven't seen here in years.
So KelpFest was started in 2009, and it came out of a need to kind of explain to the community that they now have a kelp forest to take care of and to love. And the kelp had come back and it was starting to flourish, and people were talking about it. You could go places and hear, oh, have you seen the kelp? But there was also kelp washing up on the beaches because that's natural. As the kelp, actually, each frond of the kelp lives for only about 4 to 6 months. And it breaks off and floats off into the ocean, and it's responsible for carrying the reproductive spores with it to spread around the ocean. But it also washes it up on the beach, and that's a whole other ecosystem called kelp rack. The people who live along the coast actually started to complain. There's kelp on the beaches, and there hasn't been kelp here for 30 years. And so I started pulling pictures from the 1800s and early 1900s and showing people what the beaches are supposed to look like, but it wasn't helping. So the KelpFest was born, and now it's blossomed into a musical event and 2,000 participants, arts and crafts and public art projects, and invite artists. One of the big things with KelpFest is to have people have an appreciation for kelp. We've got to show them what it looks like. And again, not everybody goes underwater. So we display it visually in as many different ways as we possibly can. There'll be all different types of visualizations for people to connect to the kelp. And then they'll also have a chance to eat it and paint it and draw it themselves. So hopefully they walk away that day saying, hey, that kelp stuff, that's not that bad, and it's actually kind of pretty. That's the goal of the KelpFest. So after the restoration of the kelp forest, we started thinking about, well, what else needs help in our local waters? So we came up with green abalone and white sea bass, both of which were dwindling, the numbers were dwindling, and the green abalone is on its way to being endangered. Baby abalone, when they're born, are actually planktonic, meaning they float in the ocean on the surface currents, and they're microscopic, you can't even see them. So when the students get them in their classrooms, we actually have nurseries in the classrooms, and they hold about 23 gallons of water, and right now they're getting abalone that are about 3 years old. So they come from local farms, and they're about this big, and the students now, they have eyes, they can make contact with them and look at them, they name them and put little beads on them to identify them, we measure them, and and of course feed them. There's actually a Facebook page for green abalone. We're watching to see if our restoration takes, if it's successful, and if it is, then it's a recipe for restoration of the species up and down the coast. Not everybody knows that there's lots of art in science. It takes a lot of creativity to do what we're doing because no one's ever done it before.
Hi, my name's Wayne Phillips. I actually am Nancy's very first volunteer diver. We worked in different boats and different projects together in 12 years now. We learned a lot, we had a lot of fun, and we did some good.
The white sea bass is a commercially and recreationally very important species in Southern California. They get to about 5 feet long and about 90 pounds. The numbers of those species were also dwindling, and the Department of Fish and Wildlife is a partner with Get Inspired on all these projects, and we also partner with Hub SeaWorld Research Institute on the white sea bass project. So they spawn them in their tanks down there, and then they give us the little babies, and the students up here in Orange County take care of them and raise them. They grow very fast. They can grow about 3 to 4 inches in about 4 or 5 months. And so the students are taking care of the tank, making the seawater, testing the chemistry daily, and of course feeding them as much as they'll eat. And we can release them in the ocean. They don't become dinner for another type of fish. But we've actually taken students underwater with the fish to release them in the kelp forest. The students have got scuba certified. They swim over and hide in the kelp just like they're supposed to. There's absolutely nothing like a crystal clear day underwater with bright shining sun coming through the canopy of the kelp where it looks like a stained glass window and makes the light dance on the bottom of the ocean floor. And you can just lay upside down and watch it dance. It's beautiful. There's nothing like it.